Hi, I'm Dana Brigman. I'm a wellness educator for dogs and a dog trainer. I'm here to help you get proactive with your dog's health and natural wellness to save you money on vet visits, improve your dog's quality of life, and fully enjoy your well behaved dog. Over the years, I sought many answers for why dogs were struggling with so many behavioral and health issues. I found some amazing answers in nutrition and natural wellness. My goal today is to leverage every available modality to help us achieve long term results and a thriving, healthy, happy dog. Nothing brings me more joy than bringing a dog back into balance and giving that joy to his family. I'm Dana Brigman of the Canine Coach Carolinas. I hope you will enjoy this podcast series designed to help you learn more about nutrition, natural wellness, and behavior for your dog. Hi, these podcasts are for educational purposes only. We are not here to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any specific disease or illness. You are encouraged to do your own research and consult with your veterinarian or holistic practitioner regarding your pet's individual care. Hi, everybody. It's Dana Brigman, and I have today with me Maria, who is a volunteer and foster home and all sorts of things with Merit Pitbull Foundation. And Maria is a good friend of mine. I think I feel comfortable saying that, and think you would respond in like. But Maria has been one of those people that has really adapted to or embraced the raindrop technique with animals. I know she's done it on many animals over the last few years and seen some pretty amazing results. So I wanted her to just talk to us about her experiences with that. But we're also going to deep dive a little bit into a specific case with a young dog named Cash that the rescue had brought in, and we were doing a workshop on teaching you guys, some of the foster homes at Merit, how to do raindrop technique. And we're going to talk a little bit about the specific experience Maria had with Cash, even though she wasn't doing the raindrop on him. So Maria, tell us a little bit about, before we get into Cash, just about what your thoughts are and your experiences are on raindrop and why you love it so much.
Okay. Well, hi, Dana. And yes, I consider you a friend as well. I have volunteered, like I said, with being a foster for Merit Pitbull Foundation for 5 years now. I can't believe it's been that long. And I think it was about 3 maybe-ish years ago when I was introduced to you through Merit, and
came to my house.
Found out, yes, and a few others found out about raindrop in oils, which, I mean, to be honest with you, I thought it was weird. I mean, as many people think.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm just gonna see what they have, and I'm just gonna observe. I just don't think that this is for me, but I'm just gonna try it out. And so I thought, I've got nothing to lose. There's nothing, so we talked about the raindrop kit and buying the raindrop kit. And I thought, well, even though I don't believe it, I try to have an open mind, and I decided I'm going to buy it. If it doesn't work out, somebody else is going to make good use of it.
Right.
So this is how it all started. And I thought, it'd be really cool that, especially a lot of the dogs that come into our rescue that have a lot of emotional baggage, sometimes we don't know their story.
Right.
It's kind of like humans. We all have a story. And sometimes some stories are harder than others. And one of the things that I started noticing when we started doing raindrops, guided raindrops, it was how it helped a lot of the dogs. Sometimes you could see the benefits right away, and sometimes it took a little bit longer. So I know that we're talking specifically about Cash, but as I started doing raindrop on my specific foster dogs, I just saw a lot of change in their demeanor, and using just the regular sequence of Raindrop, and as I got into this more, in learning that you can use other oils in the sequence, it made a big difference in just, again, their anxiety. I know that was the one main thing for a lot of them, was anxiety, relaxation, just, gosh, I could tell you tons of story about my foster dogs. I can tell you one specifically. I know we're going to talk about Cash,
That's
but it
okay.
made me think of
You tell all you want.
one whose name is Loki, and he had been, somebody else had him, was keeping him, and I ended up, he had a really bad ear infection. So I said, you know what, because of, he was in a basement and it was too damp, and I said, you know what, I'll foster him. And as we were curing his ear infection, I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna start doing Raindrop on him. And it's one of those things that, kind of like when you get a massage and you just feel like a big weight just leaves you. I know that I did about 3 or 4 raindrops on him. And I think by the 3rd raindrop, I really felt him relax. And it was almost like, it's just really weird to say, but it was almost like he turned a different leaf. Like he woke up the next day and he was a different dog.
Oh, wow.
And it was funny because then after that, he I mean, he was great, but then he found this one family and they wanted to rename him. And I think it had to do with his emotional stuff as well. They said that, I was on the phone with them and she said, I want to name him Levi. And I said, so what do you think, Levi? And he just looked at me, and immediately he looked at me. It's like he knew that he was being renamed. And ever since then, it was like it was almost like he let go of his old personality and embraced this new one. It's just one of this. That has been one of my strangest ones. It's strange, but it's not strange. But
it's strange in a good way.
I can't explain it. I guess that's, and I apologize for the dog barking. We talked about this one dog. And then another one was also, and then I'll tell you another one, and then we can get to Cash, because that one was really different. Sorry about that.
Don't worry, we're all dog
people. And then there was another dog, Nico, and he was a married dog that was returned, and he, unfortunately, there were some issues that had gone on that I know he brought with him some emotional baggage the second time around. And one of the things that he brought was he was very anxious in the car. And I have a Mazda 3 hatchback. So if you all know what that is, it's like a small size car. This is a 85-pound dog, 80 pounds or something like that. And I was taking him to an event, and he jumped from my backseat to the back to get a treat. So imagine an 80-pound dog trying to get in the backseat of a Mazda hatchback. He did. That's how crazy he was. He would not stay still in the car. I mean, it was terrible. He came to my house. I believe her former foster mom was dog sitting him. He had already been adopted. And I thought, you know what? I got nothing better to do. I'm just going to start raindropping him and see what happens. I mean, I just did it because let's try it out. I had him for 5 days. And so I thought, I'll do it every other day. So I did it 3 times. And I did it the day that, by the 2nd raindrop, he was one of those dogs that on the 2nd raindrop, he came in kind of late next to me. And as soon as I started, he laid down. And halfway through it, he went, and he just let out a big sigh. And he's another one that he woke up the next day and it was like he was a whole different dog. And he was just calmer. He was just calmer. I guess that's the best way I can say it. That's amazing. So before he left, I did a raindrop on him. And it was funny because he came and sat next to me before I even started and put his back to me. And I think it was just, I want another one. And so I did, and he was great. And on the way home, I told his former foster mom, I said, you know, I've been doing raindrops. You don't need to leash him in the car anymore. And she said, oh, no, we have to, because if not, he goes nuts and this and that. And I said, well, I don't think he's going to do it. I said, but I need you to call me when you get home and see what happens. And they got back and she texted me and she said her boyfriend wanted to know what kind of voodoo Maria had done on Nico, because he sat and slept the whole time and there was nothing. I mean, and I don't know if ever since then he doesn't, you know, I don't know how he rides in the car because I haven't seen him, but I just thought it was a really funny thing that he was that calm that it completely changed even how he rode in the car.
That's amazing. I love when you can actually see the release that they have, and it can show up in a whole lot of different ways, but when they make that big exhale and you just know they have purged out so much of what they're holding on to, and then they show up different for you in a lot of different ways. So that's pretty awesome. You said you had one more story.
Well, I can honestly say that I still don't understand it, but for what it's worth, I'm open to the process. I know that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So my main foster of my all-time favorite was Guinness.
Mm-hmm.
And he, Guinness, Dana actually had done, I forget what you call what you do with the, what did
The
you do?
Reiki?
No, with Guinness, you actually did a, with the, oh my gosh.
You really are talking voodoo.
I know, I forget what it's called, but with paper and you're like
Oh, the
paper
analysis of it?
Yes,
The
thank you.
wellness
Oh my
review?
God.
Yeah.
Terrible. You did an analysis on him and then you try to do a raindrop, and I was holding him and he was having none of it. And for what it's worth, we did it, but it didn't do a
Sloppy.
thing.
It was sloppy.
Like, I don't want this. I have no issues. I am okay.
Uh-huh.
And so when he got adopted, I was lucky. I've been lucky that I stay in touch with my fosters. And so Guinness, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to start coming to his house and doing raindrop every so often. So the first thing I did raindrop about 2 times. And then they were moving to Atlanta. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do one before he leaves and let's see what we do. And it was really neat because the second time that I did it, I kind of just grabbed like, Mom, you just hold him, and he kind of relaxed, I will say about 50%. But on the last time that I did the raindrop on him, he actually let me do it. It still wasn't, that he would just come and lay down, but he would get up and then he would come back. And that was another time when he did the, just the release.
Mhm.
And Mom said that he was a little bit better with the anxiety. With Guinness, he had a big story. And so I think that his anxiety never went away. But I think it really helped them in the long run. But yeah, I think that's about the other one. The cat story is really interesting though.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting stories, and he might be a candidate to look at like the feelings collection or the reconnect collection. So since you and I have talked, those are other emotional oils. Raindrop is sort of all the systems of the body. And then the feelings kit is really tapping into those deeper emotions. And so there's some opportunities there if those folks are still having any anxiety issues or history issues with these dogs. And we do have to realize that they don't all let go right away. I mean, I did a raindrop, and I'll tell this story another time, but part of my certification program, we did the raindrop on our instructor's horse. And this horse had a major release while we were there. And that horse has had countless raindrops because the instructor does them, right? And so it was a big release. And she talked about the story that had happened. She got this horse 5 years prior to us doing our class with it. And she's like, it let go of something major that had happened in the past. And so it's not always a one and done, and it's not always fast. So, okay.
I agree.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Cash and how this all surfaced back up for you and I this weekend when you shared his story and how you were doing raindrops on him. Tell us a little bit about who Cash is and how he came into rescue and how things proceeded for him to start to release some things. And then we'll talk about what happened to you while we were in that class.
So Cash was not my foster dog. I will say that right off. So I can only give you a little bit of information, but Cash, I believe, I forget if he was already in, if he probably got pulled from a shelter, but Cash was found very malnutritioned. He was very, very, very skinny. You could see his bones. He was really bad. It wasn't a good situation. I believe he also had an embedded collar. So again, it wasn't a good situation, but the great folks of Merit decided to pull him. And I know at the beginning it was a little touch and go with Cash, and he was heartworm positive, of course. But he was, again, I think it was shut down to some degree, I guess you could say. And I think it took he went to foster, and his foster mom worked with him really hard. He put on some weight, he got a little better, but he still had a little bit, he was apprehensive of other dogs at the time. And it just depend, at the time it was hit or miss as to the dog that he would meet. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was like, I want to kill you. But so I think it was just unsure of the world. And I think it just reflected on how he met and the energy that he was picking up from other dogs. I can tell you, he's now, he gets along with any dog. I mean, he's in his new home. He's a great foster brother. They just fostered another one, and actually she's being adopted, and I know that they've had 2 or 3 fosters that he's been great with them. And so, which is really interesting for me to see that, knowing one time when we're at a meeting, it was at a event, and he met this one dog, and he was great with this dog, and then he met another dog, and he was like, I want nothing to do with you, and if you get any closer, it's not going to look good. So for him to be the way that he is now, it's really interesting for me, because of that. So
yeah, I see a lot of dogs, and I understand why it happens in all rescues, where they're like, this dog has to be the only dog, or this dog has to be, and there's all these boundaries which make them really hard to be adoptable. And I keep wanting to say, hello, let's try some things, and I hope that more people will be open to what's possible. I mean, we can't fix them all. We can't fix them all perfectly, but I do think there are many things that people have never even considered trying that might sort of free up the energy of those dogs and allow them to be different. So Cash had a craptastic start, probably a lot of trauma, a lot of emotion associated with that. And I know that I was teaching a class where several of the Merit folks came to my house to do a raindrop workshop to learn how to do it. And I think we must have had 5 or 6 dogs in the room that day. Each of the either board members or foster homes, and I think we had another pet parent that I can see the room.
Yes, it was a lady, and I forget the dog.
You came to observe because you had somewhere else to be that day.
Yes, I did not bring my foster dog. So yeah, I was just observing, and I thought, wherever you guys need me, I'll be there, and if not, I'll just watch and learn.
Yeah. So Angela was doing the raindrop on Cash. And tell me about what your observations were and what the experience was for you.
So from what I remember, and I guess, again, everybody has a different story, because I was just observing. And I remember that the raindrop started with, because we were not just doing the back, as you normally do, but they were also doing the paws.
The feet.
Yes, you were doing the feet, and they were doing the back. There was one dog that was not relaxing at all. You know what we're talking about. But again, she was just very, she's had a ton of energy. So, but then the other ones seemed to be relaxing as things went on, and it was okay. And I was able to sit and watch, and he started really relaxing. And then I think we got to, the end. No, I think we were maybe an oil or 2 away from the end. And he started, the best way that I can describe it is, you could smell all the oils, obviously, from everybody doing it. And I think that it looked like he was drunk.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to see, because it was almost like he was dizzy, and that's not even the right word, but again, I'm just using human terms. And it was like he was dizzy and drunk, and I think you said, why don't we take him outside and give him some air, and then offer him some water and all that, and you guys took him out,
Yeah, because that, as I think about you saying that now, with having multiple of us in that room and passing around oil bottles, there was a lot of aromatics going on in that room, which is a big hit to the limbic system for all of us in that room.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then, before I continue, I just wanted to say the one thing about me learning of Raindrop is also one thing I learned through Dana, which I didn't know. After you do the Raindrop, I didn't know that a lot of times you absorb their energy. And so depending on the dog, there's times where I feel, and I have no clue why, I feel super anxious, or there's times where I get really sleepy. And there's times where I feel like I could go and run a mile, and have no problem whatsoever.
You may be more of an empath than you realize. And, part of that is we have to sort of ground and protect ourselves when we're doing this type of energy work with the animals, but you may be more in tune with that than you've ever considered.
Well, we'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah.
But also one of the things that Dana has told me is that to apply certain oils after, just to make sure to release that energy so that I don't keep it. And so I've been using, I know one of the ones that I always use is white angelica, like right off the bat. And if I have sage, I'll just sage a little bit, but white angelica is the one that I usually go to, or, I'll diffuse something, but usually I try to, but anyway, so when we came back, they brought Cash back, and he was just sitting, and Angela had him, and I'm watching all the dogs. It's almost like we were I think it was a circle just about. And I think we were at the end, and I have no clue why. I just happened to look at Cash, and he looked at me, and literally we locked eyes, and it was really weird because it was kind of like we just kind of stuck. And I looked at him, and I don't even know what I felt, but tears just started rolling down my eyes. And then I just felt this sadness. And I thought, and I said, and I think I told you then, I said, wow, this is really weird. And you said, what's going on? And I said, I said, I don't know what it is. I don't know Cash. I really don't know Cash at this time. And I'm thinking, and I said, I don't know, but I'm feeling the sadness from him. And it's just, and I said, and it's just, and I all I kept saying was, it's just so sad. And I just started not bawling, but I was just crying, and I just had this really sad emotion in me. But he would not stop looking at me, which was the weird thing. And I'm just like, I don't know. I said, I guess it's just really sad. I said his story or whatever. I said, but this story that I just told you, I really didn't know much about it, which it was told to me afterwards, because again, I didn't know. And I said, wow, he really must have a story. I said, because I feel just really sad and I said for him, but I don't know. So that was my thing with Cash, because I think that's when you mentioned as well that I may connect to his feelings more.
Yeah. In the mail that I saw this weekend, because it's like his gotcha day or something, right? Or his anniversary into rescue or something.
Something pet day or something.
And you mentioned in that post this weekend that you felt his grief leaving.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so we don't always have to know the story. And that's one of the things that I find that happens to me often, and it really freaks people out when I do things like the analysis you talked about, or these Zyto scans now. That's what I think you were talking about, was the Zyto that I had done for Guinness. And you start putting together this picture, but also this energy that you can read the energy. I read it and I can put together a story, and I have freaked Angela out more than once by telling her things that I theorize, and she's like, how did you know that? Because I didn't tell you that. But there'll be some element of the backstory that aligns. And so you don't have to know the story, but you in that moment connected with him, and there was a trust there where and looking back on it, it's hard for us to say, but he trusted, I think, that connection with you to let go, and you felt that happening. Can you explain a little bit more about why you called it grief in that moment? You might not remember, but I'm just curious.
No, I know. Well, I said grief in the conversation that we had, and I think I think in part it's because even though I believe in this wholeheartedly, I don't fully understand it, and I think for me it's really hard to put words to put it into words. Does that make sense? And I think at the time it was just, I felt like a wave of sadness hitting me. Like, you know, it didn't knock me down or anything, but it felt like sadness coming into me almost. So it was, and the only way that I could attribute it was to Cash, because I wasn't looking at anybody and I wasn't feeling anything before that. But it was looking at him and just feeling like there was a sadness. That's what it was. I felt like there was a sadness about him. And I guess if I have to analyze it now, understanding things a little bit more now, maybe he was transferring that sadness to me and I didn't know what to do with it.
Well, and it could be that he was letting it go, right? He was letting go, and because
it felt like a wave hitting me. Does that make sense? It wasn't like, maybe not, I don't know what a transfer or whatever, but it felt like I was being hit with, and it wasn't, because, you know, usually if I feel sad, it comes from within, but it almost felt like it was coming from outside, and then it went in. It was like, then it was coming back out from within. Is that fair?
Yeah. I think he trusted you to share that, or to let you in on that, and that's probably because you're more attuned than you realize, right? There's probably more to you being in alignment and receiving of energy and feeling that energy and that sort of thing. And he trusted that connection. You didn't bear his grief, but you allowed him to let it go.
Okay.
You didn't go home with that grief, right? You didn't take it on and hold it for him, but you allowed him to release it and say, you don't have to deal with this anymore.
No, and if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, afterwards you said, but I think you gave me an oil, I forget which one, and you said, put this on just in case, or something like that.
Yeah, it was probably white angelica or sage or Palo
Which is
Santo.
probably why I use that all the time after that.
Yep. And so how is Cash after that, and how is Cash now?
So after that, I don't know, because he went home, but I can tell you just from what I see now, like I said, he's just a different dog. He's just more even keeled. He's just, like I said, he's a great ambassador of the breed. I mean, I don't think that he's super 100% friendly. I want to be with every dog maybe, but I know that there have been about 3 different dogs, 2 or 3 different dogs that have come in his home, but they're females too. So I don't know. But he's been great with them. And I mean, I know that they take him places. I mean, he goes places where before it was like, okay, how do we do it? You know, and we need to make sure that he's okay. I mean, you see pictures of him going everywhere and he seems to be having a blast.
Yeah.
So I think that my take on Cash is that Cash really has let go of his former life, of his past, and has really embraced who he is now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's the best way I can describe Cash. He's an awesome dog. And I still haven't seen him after
and
that.
I'll add a couple of his before and after pictures to this when we post it online so that people can see. Because, I know there's a lot of people that'll look at this and go, well, many dogs have moved forward or left behind whatever they were holding on to without all these essential oils. And I guess, that's possible. And, I was even the trainer for many years that believed this stuff was voodoo too, and had all sorts of people tell me that you don't need that. But I know that we get into these situations sometimes where we feel like we've exhausted everything. And I think this is one more thing to try. And that for many, when we bring it in early, that there is a very powerful emotional detoxification process that can take place in addition to the wellness stuff. But this emotional root, if we can help them move that along or get it unstuck and release it earlier, all the better. And I think, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but you've articulated several places now where you've seen this happen yourself in multiple dogs and allowed that to really help them move forward in in ways that they might not have otherwise.
Yes, and as you said, honestly, there's some that may take longer or not at all. Like we mentioned, Guinness. He was a tough one. One thing I didn't tell you, poor Guinness, he passed away, but he's good. But he's had an awesome life. So, but the one thing I can tell you, and it just made me think of my grand pup, my grand dog, as they call it, Isaac, who is a herding dog of sorts, and he is one of the most anxious dogs that I know. And a while back, I told my daughter-in-law, who was starting to do oils, and I said, well, why don't we do a raindrop? I said, let's just do a raindrop. But on that one, I told her how to do it because I know he was so anxious that I don't know if he would have been comfortable with me doing it. So I sat with her. He sat, and I just passed her the oils, and I said, do this, do that, and I'm telling her how to do it. And I want to say by oil 3, and this is a dog that when I'm around, unless mom is not there, he just paces. He will not lay down. He just paces, will not lay down. When he comes to my house, and he's here for a week and I'm dog sitting him, it takes him about 2 days to get comfortable. And then I'll do raindrop with him, and then he's great. But by oil 3, you could tell he was starting to calm down. And I want to say because then I started adding a few, like the tea away and, just other things. Halfway through it, he just laid down, and he's laying on her, and he's sleeping. And I'm looking at her, and I said, you realize what's happening? And she goes, I don't know what's happening. She said, I don't understand this. He has never done this. I think he slept for maybe a whole day after that.
Wow.
And with that said, he's required a couple other extra things. He's on CBD now. But at least still more natural stuff. So he's doing CBD. And I forget if she forgets, I don't know how often she does raindrop, but when he comes, which unfortunately hasn't been at my house for a while due to my family dynamics, but when he comes, I usually try to do a raindrop on him. And it really just mellows him out. Like I said, he's a little bit more mellow now, and he's more trusting. I guess that's a good word that you used before. He's a little bit more trusting, at least of me, because he's still not, with that said, he's still not 100% for people. He's still very untrusting of some. And I'm one of the few people that my daughter-in-law trusts for me to dog sit and things like that.
Right.
But when he does the raindrop, he loves it. So, and before,
That's awesome.
Yeah. This is a dog that would pace all the time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up this and stop the recording?
I think the only thing that I can say is if you don't have to believe this for it to work. That's the reality of it, because I didn't believe it, and the results spoke louder than anything. Yes, the reality is it may or may not work with some dogs,
or it may not work the
you have
first
nothing
time.
to lose. But but you have nothing to lose by trying it.
Right.
And I'm still shocked and astounded as to all the results that a lot of our fosters have had. And like I said, you got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Try it out.
Awesome. Cool. And I'll just say this here too. I am starting a what I call a rescue program, for lack of a better word, where I'm offering rescue groups like Merit and others to contact me about those difficult case studies. And I will help. I'll get you the oils that they need. Like I'm sharing the raindrop kit with some of these groups and helping get started and doing that analysis with the Zyto. And so if there are folks out there who have a dog in active rescue that they're struggling with, the dog is shut down or emotionally traumatized or past trauma, injury, whatever, I'm working with them on the raindrop, the feelings collection, or the reconnect, and helping them to see what's possible for those dogs. When they feel like they've hit a wall, they don't know where else to go, this might be the next things that helps break that dog free. So anyway, all right. Well, thank you, Maria. I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Dana Brigman of the Canine Coach Carolinas. You can find me on the internet at caninecoach.dog. That's letter K, number 9, coach.dog. You can also find me on Facebook at the Canine Coach Carolinas or in our group that is designed to teach dog mamas just like you more about nutrition, essential oils, homeopathy, and other areas of natural wellness. We want you to learn all that you can to keep your dog happy, healthy, and thriving. I hope to see you in our group soon.